More reaction now. Go live to London. Adam Elliott-Cooper's there. He's the associate editor of Ceasefire magazine and doctoral candidate at University Oxford as well. Sir, pleasure to have you on the programme then. Thanks for being with us. A lot to talk about here. Of course, that main headline, it looks like I say, at the moment at least, that the hostage crisis in Algeria is over after 4 days. Nonetheless, there've sadly been a lot of civilian casualties there. No French casualties, but the countries that came in to help France and bolster the French presence there have received casualties. I wonder how that news is going to go down in those countries tonight.
Well, of course, it's tragic news that there are any casualties at all. But I think that the most important thing to remember is that France's allies did support them an enormous amount in the invasion of Mali. And they're very much familiar with the risks of foreign invasions. Both the United States and Britain have engaged, of course, as we know, in Iraq, Afghanistan, and in many other conflicts. But I think that their likely reaction is likely to be similar to the kind of terrorist atrocities that we saw in 9/11 or 7/7, where they're very often used as a way to legitimise further aggressive foreign policy in other countries such as I said, Iraq, Afghanistan and other countries in the region.
And would it have the public backing as well? If this flares up again, say, in the next couple of days in Algeria, would the public backing these various countries, including France, still be there?
I think that the way in which a lot of these situations are often exploited by governments means that it creates an environment of fear. And that fear is then exploited in a manner which enables them to legitimise further foreign policy kind of endeavours in other countries in the name of the so-called global war on terror. So, unfortunately, I think that the countries like perhaps be split between the kind of the people who realise that more aggressive foreign policy is likely to lead to more terrorist atrocities, and those who perhaps responding more to the kind of mainstream media and the government narrative that believe that every terrorist or every potential terrorist on the entire planet can be neutralised through this so-called war on terror.
I wonder what next. Adam, Islamists are now threatening to unleash, as they put it, hell on France. Rhetoric or reality, do you think?
Well, as we've seen with the 7/7 bombings, for instance, in London, these bombings, the videos made by the bombers before the atrocities took place, stipulated specifically the invasions of Iraq, Afghanistan, and what have you, as reasons for these terrorist attacks. Furthermore, France has actually increased its internal security just before the invasion of Mali as well. So we know that they're also on some kind of alert in terms of the likelihood of a terrorist attack.
The crisis in Mali has been escalating since it began a year ago. The government asked France to step in then. Is Paris expecting anything in return for this military assistance?
Well, I think it's important to remember that although the Malian government asked France to step in, the region which they're invading is a region which is occupied by the Tuareg people, who don't really see themselves as citizens of Mali necessarily. They occupy spaces on the borders of Algeria, Libya, Niger, as well as Mali. And I think that the Mali government inviting France in to help deal with them is not dissimilar to the way in which Saddam Hussein asked US assistance to deal with the Kurds. I think the response that France are we hoping for will probably be something along the lines of, number one, increased military presence in the region. France likes to have a lot of military presence in its former colonies, far more than Britain. And I think the second thing will be favourable terms of trade on natural resources.
Well, we've just got a minute. I just wanted to ask you a final 30-second question. We've been asking our guests, a number of guests, this same one. Why is France getting involved in Mali? Why is it so interested in Mali? Is there any connection here with the uranium? They've got big uranium reserves. France is obviously, it just begs the question, doesn't it? It poses the question. France is heavily reliant on nuclear for its energy. Is it trying to protect its maybe future reserves, future input?
I think this is highly likely. Uranium is France's oil. And many people say it's a huge part of, it's a huge factor in its economy. And it's something that not only Mali, but specifically Niger and other neighbouring parts where the Tuareg people reside, do sit on top of.
Adam Elliott-Cooper, pleasure to have you on the programme. Thanks for being on RT International.
Thank you.